Yivchar Lanu Nachlaseinu is Genakev Shoyev Sela. The Meivich Hakmuch Admur Maamar the Ramaskel Zeh Shebehemshech Rishon Atavshin Gimel. Pirush Targum. Targum is Mefarish. What's the pshat Yivchar Lanu Nachlaseinu? So the Targum explains Yari Lanu Lemeiras. The Eibishter should Yari Lanu is he should have his rotten should be towards us. Lemeiras Yosach Santana that he should be meidish to us. He should inherit us Ach Santana our Nachla. Which what is our Nachla? Yos Beis Mikdash of the Yaakov. Beis Mikdash which is Yaakov is Mikdash the Rachem LaAlmin. That's going on Yaakov. Asher Oiv Sela Yaakov which Eibishter Libgahat Avas Eilam. So the Nekuda, what the Rebbe wants from the Friediger wants from this Targum is the pasuk says Gein Yaakov. What's meet Gein Yaakov? So the Targum says the Gein Yaakov is Beis Mikdash of Yaakov. Gein Yaakov geht Beis Mikdash. Medaik Mizari Beis Mikdash like Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the Eibush is Beis Mikdash, which costs of also Lim Mikdash. It's the Eibush is it's the even the Pashtus Advarim. Even though the Nechasim, the Chaimer, which is what the Beis Mikdash was built, all came from the Yidden's Nechasim, but you have to be Makdash at the Gavaya. Beis Mikdash becomes the Nichse Hekdash, Nichse Shemayim. So Yisrael, they were like Eisim Beis Mikdash, Avla Mikdash Atz Mishal HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Lama Nikra Beis Mikdash of the Yaakov. Stamaz in the pasuk Gein Yaakov, Lashon Gein Yaakov. You could say that the Beis Mikdash is the Eibush is Beis Mikdash, but Yidden pride themselves with the Beis Mikdash. It's the Gein Yaakov. But the Medrash in the Targum, the Lashon Targum is Beis Mikdash of the Yaakov. As our Lashon that it's not stam, it's our pride. Nachlaseinu was Beis Mikdash, and Gein Yaakov is we're calling it. It's the pride of a Yid. It's the Gein Yaakov. Gein Yaakov means Beis Mikdash of the Yaakov. As they attach the Targum, it's not a Yid's Beis Mikdash. So the Eibush is Beis Mikdash. Gam ein Shaila. The zweite Shaila is Maya Shaykh is the Gein Yaakov. Shekal Beis Mikdash. L'Nachlaseinu. Eretz Yisrael is the Eibush was Meirish as Eretz Yisrael. What does Beis Mikdash have to do with Yerusha? It's not one of the Shetach of Eretz Yisrael that was given me Yerusha, Me'aviseinu. That's in of Yerusha. Beis Mikdash is the Beis Hamikdash for such stamps Nachlaseinu to Yerusha. There's a tzivah for Eden to build the Beis Hamikdash. So forget the Shaila is the Choret Sebalakdash zone. So the Eibush does. But Nachlaseinu means our Nachla means Eretz Yisrael Pashas. Was hat das Shaykh is to Beis Hamikdash? Das ist the Shaila Friediger Rebbe fragt. Var ba Maamar the whole Maamar Toshin Gimel. I mean the Friediger Rebbe read in the Maamar about this pasuk. Friediger Rebbe is in the middle of his Mamshech, the Hemshech in Yonim. They're going to get to the two Yonim they have in Malchus. But the Sofa Maamar the Friediger Rebbe says he's mevar the pasuk Yivchar Lanu Nachlaseinu and the Shaila from the Targum. He says like this. Muvar b'Maamar the Nachlaseinu is nekudas hayadus hasheile b'nekudas halev. Yeah, but every Yid, regardless of what's going on in the Keiches Chitzenim, Seichel, Umidis, but every Yid has a nekuda, which that nekuda is purely that the Yiddishkeit is there begali, with the ganzer teikif. There's no weaknesses. Seichel and the Umidis of a Yid, there could be sometimes a chalishus in the Keshet HaLekus, but there's a nekuda by Yeder Yid benafshi pnima, which there his Keshet HaLekus is with the ganzer starket, and no meister could be pagan. That's the nekudas hayadus. That's the nekudas haneshama of a Yid, which nothing in his keiches chitzenim could be pagan than nekuda. That's nekudas hayadus, and the Friediger Rebbe says there that hashere ben nekudas this nekudas hayadus is nekudas haneshama, which there's no pagam through any chataim which stays b'shleimus, is sheire ben nekudas halev. That's in the etzem hanefesh of a yid, in the etzem halev of a yid. There's is Meir there. The fact that he's master and doesn't the lekus without any yakbals and nekudas hayadus, and that's called Beis Mikdash of the Yaakov. What's the Shaykh is the Beis Hamikdash? Same way the Beis Hamikdash is a place where there's Ashras Ashchina, V'shechanti B'seicham. So what's the pshat in the Nekudas Hayadus of Yid? There's a Nekuda in every Yid's Metzias. Where darkness is a Yid B'shleimus. The Nekudas Hayadus and Nekuda were there. The Inin Hayadus is not the B'chlishus. It's always B'teikif. And no Inin Chitzeni can be pagan. What's that there is a Yid B'shleimus? And the Alter is in Tanya that there's a Nekuda by every Yid. The Chachma Sheba Nefesh, we're there. It in Sof is Meir. There's a Nekuda. The Nekudas Hayadus says on Nekuda we're there. A Yid is B'tachas a B'tul Talakus. And the Lakus is Meir there. The Lakus is Sheira there. The Lakus is Meir there. So that's the Beis Mikdash of the Yaakov. Not the Beis Mikdash that belongs to Yaakov. Friediger Rebbe teaches that the Targum was Zog Beis Gein Yaakov. He means to say not the Beis Mikdash Hagashmi. It meant Yeder Yid's Beis Mikdash. What's a Yid's Beis Mikdash? The Nekudas Hayadus, which exists by every single Yid, Benafshe, Be'etzem Nafshe, which there, the Eibush is always Sheira there. That's not there's a Nekuda Tmidis by Yid, which there the Nekuda Sheira. So that's Beis Mikdash of the Yaakov. As if for entfeter, so to speak, the Shaila from the Bizok, the Beis Mikdash doesn't belong to Yaakov. The literal Beis Mikdash belongs to the Eibush. So there is not a Beis Mikdash that belongs to Yaakov. There's the fact that a Yid's a Beis Mikdash, and that's a Beis Mikdash to me. The Amakim where there's a Shras Ashchina Veifen to me, and that's the Nekudas Hayadus, which has been the Nekudas Halev of every Yid. That's what the Targum. So the Targum is Maram is to the Mikdash is gefinzach by Yeder Yid benafshi pnima. What's it? Why you calling it Beis Mikdash? Mishikosav. Also the Mikdash chanti b'seicha. And this Nekuda Beis Hamikdash is which there's Ashras Ashchina there. And the pasuk itself says that vu b'shteit ashras hashchina b'seichem leinem elo b'seichem seichel echad echad misrael. So the nekuda ashras hashchina b'chol echad echad misrael, that's mikdash. This Maamar Chazal, there's no, there's a makar. What the makar of this Maamar Chazal is, no? It's not sounds. The makar is Chacham. It sounds like it's a medrash or something. There's no medrash. The makar is from later Sfarim. It's not. Yeah. So. So that's the Friedrich Rebbe's teich. Hazay in Pashto says it's Tashetnish the Targum Besim Deshav. Then for Eter we're talking about the Besim Deshav, which is Benafshi Shel Kol Echad MiYisrael. Das ist die Friedrich Rebbe's teich. Auf dem bringt der Rebbe da and Apirish Pasha Yivchar Lanu is gen Yaakov Shel Asad Levi Yasel Lanu is Beis Mikdash Sheinu. The Pasha means Kipshut. The Eibush is going to rebuild the Beis Mikdash Shlishi. So it's our Chlohaven Akesher that Pirish Abba Maamar Shegen Yaakov Kol Beis Mikdash Kol Echad Echad MiYisrael. My Pirish Pasha Shegen Yaakov Kol Beis Mikdash Shlishi Shibanim Her V'Yaminu. Yeah, that's the. There's also a statement Gemara brings that the base by Shlishi is connected Avram, by Sheni is connected Yitzchak, and by Shlishi is connected Yaakov. So Beis Mikdash the Yaakov is being meramis to Beis Shlishi. So that which Beis Shlishi is connected Yaakov. So the Pashas Akra is that they're asking the Yivchar should be his Ratzin should be an Azam Asert Leifim. We should rebuild the Beis Mikdash Shlishi. So they make the Sachmol. I mean, the Rebbe brings it not only to in Pashas Advarim the way. The Avana Pshuta is that you have even in El Mapshat, you can have the same pasuk or the same word, many different Pshuta, many different Pirushim. Even in El Mapshat is Kama Pirushim. The Pashas Pashit in the Pirushim in a pasuk. The Rashi brings Gepatish Yifetz Yisela that Divrei Torah are saved of many Pirushim. It's not the Pshat that there's one Pshat and that's the Pshat. There's even within the level of Pshat, there's Kama Pirushim. There's Lavdafki connection between them. But the Rebbe brings a raya from Shatn is that all Pirushim in a pasuk have a Shaykhis. It's not the Pshat randomly. You could use not only all Pirushim might be Pshat. Which that you could say the learned Taris in any Gemara, but even Pirush Maderech HaPartis. You haven't Torah Pshat Remes Drusay. So in Pashtus, the Pirush of Pshat and the Pirush of Seid, two different worlds of the Gemara. The Rebbe always says the fact that it's in the same pasuk with the same word, there's a shaykhas between them. It's not randomly, it all fell into one pasuk. It means this pasuk, the way it is in the Elam HaSeid, is this Indian, the Indian, the way it's Nishtash in the lower world, it's the Pshat of the Pirush, the way it is of the Pshat. But it's the same Indian. It's not Pasuk the Inyan. Yeah, that's a Chiddush. I mean, in Pashtus, is the Rebbe many Maamorim speaks this type of Shakavatari, this type of Indian. In Pashtus Dvarim, the Avana Pshuta is you have a pasuk. You could trade the words in different ways. And how much in the Pirush, which that's Takaemes Sheta that Divrei Torah Kapatish Yifetz Yisrael. It's not like the Dibra Leki is Kela Kama Pirushim. But the Rebbe's word is that it's not Stam Kama Pirushim. The pasuk is a certain Amshacha, and this Amshacha, there's the way it plays itself out in different Efanim Imshat. There's the way it plays itself out in different elements, but it's the same Nekudav is the way it's expressed in Kama Elam. It's not Fashid in Inyan. Yeah. So the Rebbe means what's the Shaykhas is in the Pirush of the Maamar. That Gein Yaakov gate is a base Mikdash of the Kol Echad Echad MiYisrael. To the Pirush HaPasha that it goes on Pasha to base Mikdash HaShlishi. Gein Yaakov made the bias which is Keneged Yaakov. Yeah, that's the Shayla. That the Rebbe is going to get to the end of the Maamar. V'hini pasuk zeh, this pasuk Yivchar Lanu Nachal Seinu is by Mizmer She'imrim Zayin Pa'omim Kedim Tkiya Sheifa. I think it's from the Arizal that before Tkiyas we say this capital 7 times. Zayin Pa'omim. What's the Shaykhas the Mizmer Zel Tkiya Sheifa? The Shaykhas the Mizmer Zel Tkiya Sheifa Pashtusu ki b'Mizmer Zen Nemar Olo Lekim B'Sruah V'Ay B'Kel Sheifa. And this in it has to do with the mitzvah of Tkiya Sheifa Rosh Hashanah. Amar Azal that B'Tchila means Lechatchila means Olo Lekim Olo Lekim. The Lechatchila b'Shas the Rosh Hashanah is the Chemadin. In which tnu is the Eibishter Kavayachol Misnaig? In Rosh Hashanah is the Mars Hamelech Hamishpat. The Eibishter is the Anhaga, which is Meir. But Rosh Hashanah is Anhaga of Midas Adin, Mitzad Atzmi. It's a Seder Shashlo, so to speak. That's man of the year. The Anhaga, which is Meir, which is the Seder Elam is Nevea from, is the Anhaga of Midas Adin. So B'Tchila is HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yeshev Ela Kesidin, Olo Lekim B'Sro. And through Yisrael, Leitim Shefreim, taking L'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is they're piled by the Eibishter that it should be aimed because it didn't be because it rachim. Vay b'kol shefer, mismal alim rachmim, u'merachim alim, v'hefech alim is a din l'rachim. It's kama pratim, but he's not only havay what happened their mon and the tachila olo l'kim b'sruah. We want to say that the yid not stam are pile rachmim. We're pile rachmim. We're mishana that midas hadin should be sabach midas. We're not mevatel that there's yem hadin. We're mevatel that the midas hadin should become to midas rachmim. This prat that is on mavar in this Maamar, this cheshbon. That's a meaning that the pasuk of olo l'kim is that the pasuk is mitzadatzmi because it's in the tnu of din, and through Yidin's Tkiya Sheifer and Avodas HaTshuva, they're payol that should be elikus the Eibishter Zol Eimid Zamikis din and should be in the tnu of Rachim. That's the point. So what's that from the Zogan? So the says through Tkiya Shefer, you're pale that Emet because of the variation because of Rachman. What's that from Zogan? The capital 7 times. So the Rebbe brings here. There's Kama Biur and Mechsidis for this Indian. But the Rebbe brings here from the Alter Rebbe Siddur. V'lechein Emre Mizmor Zakedim Tkiya Shefer. The Lahavi Rayim and Atayra Lam Shachad Emet because of the variation because of Rachman Shadit Tkiya Shefer. Means the Indian wird aufgetan durch Tkiya Shefer. Through Tkiya Shefer, Yid is pale. That's on this Galaver and Maila and Hoge should be an Eifel of Midas Rachman. And that's the Midas Rachman, and Azam is sort of Eifel for Rachman, which is the Hapech Din Rachman. But in Shas, you bring that Apitayre is as a Apitayre, not only the Tkiya Shefer Vayid. Apitayre, Apichachmas Atayre is Mechuyev, that Tkiya Shefer Vayid is Me'er Rachman. So that brings a takeoff to the Indian. You bring a rayat to something. What's the point of bringing a rayat to something? Someone says a logical thing. So the Indian is a logical thing. The Zachazay is Gal. You want to be Mechazik it, you bring a rayat. That even that sugya proves it. What's the take of a raya? You have certain things you bring a raya because the thing is nothing without a raya. If you don't have a yechacha, so what's b'chal your basis? But certain things there is a base for the Indian. The Indian is verstandig, but you want to be mechazik that the Indian is muchrich. There's no way of turning away from it. That even this other sugya proves that this Indian is kafekaf. That's a raya. So there is it. Alter brings in siddur. Why do you say the capital that the Allah Lekim Yisroa? The Indian v'takavuf gitan. Ayid blas shefer is me'eler rachman b'd eibishter. But the fact that that Kia Shefer, a Yid Zavid Sashuv is Meir Rachman by the Eibishter, it's Kenzen Amok Kitrugim, or there could be Apiseder Shlashos is as that a Yid Zavid Sashuv is Meir by the Eibishter Rachmanis. That's Apiseder Shlashos. If you say that Api Chochmes Atayra, Kia Shefer is Meir Rachman, it gives a take it to the Indian. The Rebbe brings other Biurim for this Indian. This is the Biur that Rebbe brings here.
If that, only reference, why don't we just say that possibly?
We're going to see. That's so no one learned the Maamar?
No, sorry.
Okay. Good. Yeah. This is the So this is the pashtas. They're saying the pashtas advarim of the Indian. Oh, now what you're mechavim to. Yeah, we can't also psukim mechet. It's not like forced. There means a lot of times we get haftarahs also. You say a whole long haftarah, but pashtas the kesher is only the first couple of words. So they have many siras to explain what's the kesher of the whole haftarah. So, but here, after there's a din, it has to be at least 21 psukim. There's din in the Gedder. You could say that the reason why you chose this after for this parsha is for this pasuk. There's another din. There has to be 21 psukim. There's no din that you have to say a capital tilim before Tkiyah Shefer. There's no such halach. It's from Kisra Arizal. If the whole thing was the pasuk, so you could say the pasuk and that's it. Was having the ganze mizmer. So mizash will fit Tkiyah Shefer like pasuk zelas kol mizmer. So moving to kol psukim the mizmer shayachim. And the poil, this beer pashta steter gets this beer that I brings before. It's written somewhere, it's getached. But I'll tell you in Sidrim Dach. Sidrim Dach. Yeah, steht in Sidrim Dach. So Kaplan and the Rebbe says this beer. So we're not leaving the reason why we say this capital before Tkiyah Shefer is because Emet B'Kisidin, Emet B'Kisala Rachman. To bring a raya for this Indian that through Tkiyah Shefer is Me'er the Eibishas Rachman. If was like in the ganze capital, because the whole capital has to do with this Indian. Not only this pasuk has to do with this Indian. The whole capital also talks about that. Shekol ha'psukim da'mizma shayachim to this Indian of Emet B'Kisidin V'Yeshem B'Kisei Rachman. Shadet Tkiyah Shefer. This is an important point. The whole pasuk has to talk with them. The whole mizma has to talk with them Indian of Emet B'Kisidin V'Yeshem B'Kisei Rachman, which is accomplished through Tkiyah Shefer. Mikol shkein ha'pasuk Yivchar Lanu shu b'smichas la'pasuk Olo Lekim Yisroa shezeh meire shepasuk zeh shaykh Olo Lekim Yisroa. Means we're saying Yivchar Lanu that the Eibush Shemeir is ratzin to us. And how we pile that ratzin through all of the Kimisrua. The smichas apsukim is not only from the fact that we say the capital before Tkiyah Shefer, and the Alter explains that it's the bigger raya and the in of Emet B'Kisidin. From Darton is the ganze capital has to come with Emet B'Kisidin V'Yeshem B'Kisei Rachman. This pasuk comes b'smichas to the pasuk of all of the Kimisrua. That means that we're trying to be ma'eder of Yivchar Lanu Snachal Seinu. Behemshich lezeh, we say that this through Tkiyah Shefer will be ma'eder the Rachmim to accomplish the sin. I mean, there's a kasha between these two pasukim. So Mele Kumtei is that Shezeh Meir Shepasuk Zeh Shaykh L'Olo Lekim Yisroa. So the Shaila B'Tzarech Lahav, and this is already negate to the Gufam. This is me negate to the Gufam Maamar. In Yivchar Lanu, who Shapchira that Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael Mitzad Atzmei. V'lei Shavedi the Yisrael Meireh Shivchar Ben. This is an important point. And we say before that the Mitzad Atzmei the Eibishter is not Tnu of Midas Adin. And Aidei Yisrael Neitun HaShefreim V'Teikon Fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hu Emet B'Kisidin V'Yeshem B'Kisei Rachman. So the fact that we say that Ayid plus Shefer, the Eibishter is he's Meir, but the Eibishter that's just the Derech Zgula. Randomly, Ayid plus Shefer, the Eibishter decides we're going to Shem B'Kisidin B'Kisei Rachman. The word is that the Yid's Aved is Me'er by the Eibishter Midas Rachman. Like you have you say in a Pashta case, there's someone that's in the, so to speak, in a negative mood, in a mood of Midas Adin, and someone by doing certain behavior, certain maisim, He could be me'eder the me'eder rachmanis by the mashpia. The avodah v'yid the same yavlamata that the shuk of the mekabel to yid mekabel is me'eder ratzon by the mashpia. Chassidus brings b'shus l'sat b'shus leila. What's the concept of b'shus l'sat b'shus leila? That the teva dvarim le'olam haza is that the ratzon of the mekabel to yid mekabel is me'eder the mashpia. Certain things a person wants to do mitzad atzmi. Mashpia himself wants to be mashpia. Certain things a mekabel is me'eder. That's b'teva advarim. A zulas is me'eder by the alien or tnu a ratzon lashpia. So that's the idiom which was necessary through the tachton. The fact that you have this, you have a din of mishpat lamati. You can have a mishpat, and the fact that the one which is emid lemishpat is natnu of achna, and he shows this pachad and he shows this to his sulas and the tshuva. He's me'eder rachmim by the shefet. That's b'teva advarim. The anhag of the nidain is me'eder natnu of rachmanis by the. So from where came this rachmanis that the shefet has now? Where did it stem from? From his own accord or the tachton that the me'eder given? The one that's emed ladim and he's not tnu of achna is me'eder rachmanis. He says merachich the shefet. And the fact you have this teva here is because lamailis does ainin. Lamailis found as ainin that my son of Roim, the anhag of a yid tshuva, is me'eder rachmim by the Eibishter. When the yid's machniya himself and he's charot and all, I'm saying you have to be pashtus. That's me'eder rachmim by the Eibishter. So this rachmim manish tantus. So there's a diagonal that's nis'eder mitzad aveda v'yid. So the same way you say lamata in the mashal. That why is it that when a mekabel shows his cheshik to the mashpia to be mekabel and he wants to be mekabel is me'eder ratzon by the mashpia, that's the teva advarim that someone else evokes within the mashpia something. That's not neveh mitzad the mashpia's own personal ratzon mashpia. Someone else evoked it in him. But someone else caused him to have such a mood. That's not neveh mitzad his ratzon. So the Rebbe is saying here that's the first shot. Tzarich lahav and inyan Yivchar Lanu is that the Eibishter chose. Choosing means that there was no one, not that someone else awoke within me a certain feeling. Someone was machriach me to be in a certain tnuah. Ich habe allein beicher gewesen. Yivchar Lanu, the Eibishter should be beicher. Mashiach all of the kim besruah is not that the Eibishter mitzad atzmi is in a tnuah of rachme. The achna of the makabel was me'eder in a tnuah of rachme by the mashpia. See wasn't there Inyan? So the chor is two separate Inyan. That's the first shayla. Leisha with Yisrael me'eder as shivcharim. So that's achma shayitru is aveda tutuf. Yeah, we don't realize this sometimes. But the same way lamata. That's the whole nekoda b'shus l'sasus leila. Same way lamata in the mashal. Certain things. Mekabel could be me'eder by the mashpia, or in different mishalim. The avid can be me'eder by the chassidus means the mashal, the musik of saying halal, saying shvachim. Certain things, the mekabel by him being mishabeach could be can erase from gewisse Sachen could be me'eder certain things by the mashpia. So there's certain and others when you get Tayyid and the Eibishter, a yid through his aveda could be me'eder certain things in the mile. But that's one in. But here it says Yivchar Lanu is that way. Then there is the Eibishter's ratzim mitzad atzmei to give to be mashpia. The chora Yivchar Lanu is that we're asking the Eibishter he should choose, not that we're evoking within him. The chora tzibas in the inyan. That's the shah.
Because it's bechira?
Huh?
How do you know that? Simple.
Push the taich. What does Yivchar Lanu mean? That you should, with your choice, you should choose us. Here, when you're saying that a tachton is the teva advarim is that when the tachton lets his me'er his shukal kabel, it evokes it. It's not that you say let's say give a push to marshal because maybe this will be more. But if sometimes a person is hungry, a real essence, then there's sometimes you don't feel like you're hungry. But if you see it as something delicious thing or something, I don't remember any. So verten is erer mitamol. The thing is me'er, not you. You didn't choose to be in this mode. Something dry. Something. You say was meishech you to a certain meaning. So if something was meishech you, something came because the thing caused by you a certain reaction. So that's your choice, the fact you're in this reaction, or the thing awoke it, the thing evoked it. So it's all those gimmicks through is Ayibish Masadatsis with the Sadin. B'shas Matut Shuva is a me'eririn. Mismal Alim Rachman, no, it's not even something that the Ayibish should choose. Apitayra is as it. Means that's the teva the Kedusha, so to speak. When a Yid nemt a Shefer, the Ayibish is Mismal Rachman. That's the same way Lahavdul Elef Alfa Elos and Mazeta Shtikal Lesson. The food is me'er, a good juicy thing is me'er or rotzen. So a Yid nemt Shefer and Mismal Alim Rachman. That's what they say. It touches his cords. He's Mismal Alim Rachman. That's the Maamar Chazal. A Yid nemt a Shefer. It's Mismal Alim Rachman. The Eibishter feels bad for him. So that's the teva dvarim l'mayla that the hachnot shuva v'yid is me'er by the Eibishter Rachmanis. Mashiach Yivchar Lanu is that he chose it. So it's a different Indian.
The hechich that Yivchar Lanu is not like that is because
Peter Shamil said Yivchar Lanu.
Because the pasuk doesn't say that it's
no, because Yivchar means choosing. No, Yivchar means choosing. So this is not choosing. This is your force, so to speak. The thing evokes you.
That he adds, he says inyan abchira.
No, that's a different part. Then the Rebbe is saying that not only mitzvah the difference between this is choosing and this is being awoken by a makabel, the darga of bchira, it's not shaykhis. You see, you have a person which could choose, or he could be affected by a makabel. It could be both. So you want him to choose, you want him to be you want your thing to have a reaction, to have a pull on him. There's another thing. If we're saying bchira is only shaykhis in that darga, which by definition cannot be nisayra through the makabel. That's the next shayla. It's a different question. Not mitzad lashon. Mitzad which darga we're speaking about. Is it nacha shayla frekter? We say to mizu. Who is shaykhis on bchira? Say choosing. Who is able to really choose? Only atzmos is only mitzad darga of atzmos can be bechir zayin. Because true choosing is, you say, every other mitzias cannot really choose. You say a person that's a gashmizdika person. So could he choose to want ruchnizdika things? If he's a megushim, his nefesh, which is nefesh a shaykhis takshame, he's going to be nimshach to what his nefesh is. A thing is nimshach lefi erdef the mohos of that thing. You can't be nimshach. You can't be drawn to something that you have no shaykhis to at all. Every inyan is nimshach leiter zach, which is masim to his mohos. So any inyan which has a tzir, his meshichas and his ritzenis and what his any inyan is going to stem from what type of tzir it is. That's not true bchira. Who created that tzir? He was created to be in that tzir. The hazir is b'shavim. This is an inyan. That's a shishbeichi given. The Yivchar is not tzir. He's not mufshit and he's not mugder. He is where he wants to be. There is no way that he is. Every other nivri, you say a person Elam Hazek cannot want someone that is a mahos of Elam Hazek cannot want an inyan which has nothing to do with his mahos. His nefesh is not nimshach because his nefesh is a nefesh megushim. It's all chiddush that a yid has bchiras nish as a pashat. But if a pashat advarim, who could choose? He could choose what he wants. Who could choose what he wants? You're not bound to want something. You're not bound to be nimshach to anything. You could choose what you want. There's only something which has no tzir, which has no doesn't have any distinct definition. So he is whatever he wants. That's what he is. He's no definition at all. Yeah, that's verstandig. Without from taste his beer, this is someone feels in himself that he could actually choose whatever he wants. A person has an etzem. Apipashas, even the etzem has a certain. None of us have no definition at all. Chassidus it says that today because the yid's musha shnatzim, so yid has bchira. But we're saying that's what we have to understand. A person is a defined and a person has agdara.
Isn't bechira anyway between two things that don't have?
That's a different part. That is not going to forget it. We're not discussing now. That's how bechira can only play itself out when you have two equal a selection. If you don't have no selection, there's no bechira. That's not what the Rebbe is discussing here. That's the difference.
So how do you have a mashiach?
This is something else. We're not discussing. The Rebbe is discussing who could choose what he wants. He says, Yivchar Lanu Sachasayna. The Yivchar should choose to want us. Who could choose what you want? The only one that could choose is Atzmos, which has no definition of what he is. Any other Metzias, which is defined in say this nefesh is a nefesh ruchnis, cannot be nimshach to apples. Because a davar ruchni and apple have no shaykhis. He cannot be nimshach there. He can't choose to be wherever he wants. He is a ruchni the gezach. A ruchni is nimshach to inyan ruchni. And a mahutz of seichel is nimshach to seichel and cannot be nimshach to inyan of no shaykhis to seichel. And every darge besides for etzem has a certain agdar. An inyan of bligvol cannot be nimshach to gvol. Every inyan has a cannot be nimshach to something which is not connected to eir. Because his inyan is eir. So he contains within himself only what he has, not what he does now. Only the Yivchar could say, choose to want. Right? You choose to want. Okay, there's no definition of what he is. So there's no definition, he has no definition. Not that he's defined by the fact that he has no definition. He has no definition. The Melech, he could want whatever he wants. Yivchar Lanu Sachasayna. So the Rebbe sagt da so. Inin Yivchar Lanu, das ist nicht die schwere Chedek von der Maamar. I mean, we can discuss it, that's not. If you're asking because it's supposed to be hard, it's not here. So, Inin Yivchar Lanu, who say to Mizu. No one's getting offended, yeah? Have you felt you're not offended? No. We say to Mizu. No, it wasn't cheshid you that you were. I'm not. Sometimes people think that mistama there must be some. Hey, we're not. This is not where the. We say in an abchiro ba'atzmus. Oh, there is without uptouching. There's no more. So that when you say Yivchar Lanu, if we're asking the Yivchar to choose, we're alluding to the etzem of Elukus, which ain't shayach shama inin desus l'osata. It's not the pshat. What are we dealing with? You're dealing with Dirt nishaychas res losata. What does this res losata mean? That the teva advarim is, say, when a person sees a geshmaka essen, it's me'erer by him. I didn't realize this video. I'm saying things the Gemara is mishalom. But a person, but the inner of the Eila is that a person that the teva advarim is that the tachten is me'erer the elyon. Yeah, tachten is me'erer the elyon. So that's only shaykhs once when there's a certain system. There's a system. A person is not misar zach, which is affected by a mekabel, and there's different things. The marshal of teva advarim is when we see someone in a state of achna. It's me'erer achmanos. That's the teva advarim. This teva advarim hates chachamim lalukus. Seder, the Eibusher, that's the creator of Seder Shtashlos, and he was mislavish himself to be. There's the lalukus is mislavish in a certain tzir. La'achre, where the Eibusher created Seder Shtashlos, is mislavish in a tzir of a certain system, and that system is the teva dekdusha. That the Eibusher is affected by the ayid being bachna. That's the teva advarim. The teva kaviyachol, the teva dekdusha of lalukus. So Seder Shtashlos is eizgeshat as Amisar Zach that the anhogas. The anhogas and Ephraim is ma'er l'mal. That's misrustel satzas leila. That certain ritzainus l'mayla are only evoked through this eirus adam atachta. That's only after the seder shlashos. And Eivah shows mislavish in the tzir where there's a nivra. The nivra through his anhogas pile certain things l'mayla. Atzmas is mitzad l'lukus. The lukus is mitzad atzman. Not the way that the Eivah shows magbel himself to a certain system, to a certain tzir. The lukus is mitzad atzman. The way he is beyond any definition. The way he is before this whole concept of a tzir and agdoras shlashos. There is not shaykh to say that's eizgestellt. He's not forced by anything. You can't say that the anhagas and Ephraim is me'er atzmos. There is only him. La'acher the Eivah b'shafen a seder shlashos and all about saying there should be the seder shlashos of the tachen being me'er and elven. And the Eivah shows the eir was mislavish in kelim. All about saying to limit himself, so to speak. That he should be misnaig in a eifen of seder shlashos. So that there you have this in of tachtens me'er deli. But the Eivah says me nishtadig answer that. So which darga are we alluding to a darga which is lefi'erech habriya, where the Eivah shows in Samson himself in seder shlashos, which in that Indians the way lukus is already shaykhs the kelim and shaykhs the tzir, and there you have this Indian. Are we alluding to that darga we're dealing with Yivchar? So when we're in der mizbah where we're asking for rachmim, we're asking for Yivchar. Meret gegen atzmos, so we fall da rein. That through being Tekei V'Shev, you're Me'er Sheismal Aleim Rachim. Which that's not Shaykh in the Darga of Atzmos. That's the Shaykh. So we say in the Pchinu Ba'atzmos, Shein Shaykh Shem in Sus Losata. It says, was kommt dazu? What are we adding? It's schon gefragt früher. Yivchar means choosing, not being evoked by the Hanog of this. The Rebbe touches it. If you're saying choosing by definition means that it was from his accord, he chose, not that he was drawn by something else. Velation says not that it's mis'eder. It means mis'eder means that it's evoked through the tacht in talim bechiven. It's not from them. Aber mokim zeh shbein in abchira ain't shaykh later. The whole thing is not shaykh. So in other words, kili. I'm not saying, but like the shayla in the psukim, you could say we're asking the Eivishter, we're looking for his ratzon. So we ask him this way, we ask him that way. But they're saying so good. We have to understand the smichus. Say if you're not affected by us. Choose it, but which darga we're dealing with? We can just handle it. The Indian alul ki misrush ki shefer the Yisrael meireret shemet kesiv yishuv kesiv. That's not shaykh like atzmos. That the anhag of each zol asareis rufen is not shaykh. That's only after it's nikba gavan azam misar seder, and there's a certain tzir already, a tzir that an anhag of shuv is meireret, and like atzmos in the cheshtak and tzir is only what he wants. Oh, so there's a smir of the shnei psukim mashma the shnei ha'inyanim shayachim zelazeh. That's one of the kudus, one of the hemshech here. Hainu da'idei sheYisrael neitim shefreim v'tekim ufnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're mamshech two inyanim. Im mamshechim leir like harachim ha'mis'eirim adei aveda. They're not only mamshech ha'inyan, which is nis'eirer through aveda, which that's the eilah shemis'eirer adei Yisrael lotadas. That's already a level in a lukus, which is already under the category, under the definition that a tachtens me'eirer. That's one inyan. And that's also the state of the impossible. But b'neisev lezeh through tkei shever adeizim mamshichim im gam harachim shem sat kchilas HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Yisrael. Not b'derech is eirus, mamshichim. Not shayideizim ha'eirim gamkin. It's not shach to say it's eirus when we're dealing with tzadatzis. But through a yitzkei shefer, he's mamshich the inyan of rachim tzadatzis. So that's avalein verstehen. So the tkei shefer is not me'eired it, because it's not. It's eirus means that we're dealing with if the tachten was me'eired, it means that the alien is. In which is nisayir, but he's mamshich it. The man of Kemin if he's mamshich it. So what? So that's also you're saying that this aveda is mamshich this in. L'chol it's any which inside the atzmos. It's not trying to say that something is mamshech. That's going to be the next shayla. But like upon here, the Rebbe is saying that through the avodah tkei shefa, we're not only me'er darga which is shayches l'sata, we're also mamshech atzmos. That's going to the answer. And these two things are connected. I mean, so it's negate to say we're not negating the pashta pshat and olah lekim b'srua that it's even because the division because rachmim that the shuva and the shefer is me'er. So the beit is out. So the other inyan from shuva being that the avodah tkei shefa is me'er l'mayla. There's another inyan which is mamshech. Also a darga which is shalei leferech avodah klal, which is the Rebbe is going to explain, and also the kesher of these two inyan. Again a bisschen weiter. Oh, so was hat man davon? Was man hat davon is what according to the smichos. Schwacher, I mean the schwacher. It's not. But the Rebbe is bringing, so to speak, a raya that avodah usually you say mitzvahs. Avodah and mitzvahs are payel amayla. So it's all the mitzvahs me'er a darga which lechatchila has to do with this ma'ase. So the kesher is payel amayla. The me'er is eir so be this rachman. Here the chiddush is that through the ma'isa mitzvah or me'er, not only the darga will kuzish is lefi erech, so it's l'sata also atzmos. Here it says you have another raya that through a tkei shefa has a mamshech atzmos which is higher than the whole inyan of avodah. Let's get to it. Usually it's locked. Why is it open today? Huh? That's why the front is locked. Okay, Mishlahis. Any artists that we should that we missed here? Okay, well, let's go a little weiter. We'll just get into the inyan a little bit. The inyan anal, the Yisrael taking a shefa is a mamshich through the avodah of tkei shefa. Or mamshich not only in inyan which is lefi erech avodah, not only the darga v'lakus which is by nature affected by the avodah sada. We're also mamshich an inyan of chilas ha'atzmos, which is the whole type of the sas. Chilas ha'atzmos means from his rats. Nothing could evoke. Nothing could be murdered. As the shmugder, he's not mugder in any definition. Whatever is theirs, that's what he wants. But through avodah or mamshach this inyan, there's a raya shin sheikh shemus l'sata. There's the verstande from nachazach. Not only from this lumdus the smichos of the two psukim, but from the general inyan of Rosh Hashanah. Steht das moving am du shik in Rosh Hashanah binnen amalchus. Steht in Chassidus in the world ik in Rosh Hashanah is yom hadin. But from Kabbalah, the whole inner Rosh Hashanah is binyan amalchus, to build the inyan that the Eibusha should be a melech al kol Elul. Binyan amalchus. Maamar azat limiru van amalchus, k'desh tamluchuni aleichem. And Taka, that's also the Gemara says mitzvah sayem b'shefer. The Gemara says benigut to Chatzeitzers that the mitzvah sayem Rosh Hashanah is b'shefer. Why Taka is mitzvah sayem b'shefer? Ki inin tamluchuni aleichem huadet ki hashefer. The Rebbe is in the order that Asag brings 10 reasons why Tkiya Shefer Rosh Hashanah. He says, I think the first time that he brings is because the minhag advaran the way it was. I mean, I guess today also, but the minhag advaran the way it was then was the b'shas they were mamlech hamelech. So by the coronation, by the ganze chagiga, so they would blow Tkiya Sheferis. So al derech zeh the b'shas the Rosh Hashanah will be mamlech the b'shas melech ha'ilam. So it's through Tkiya Shefer. This is Zog the Rasak. That's the Rebbe brings ha'inin harishim with Tkiya Shefer. She'ozan mamlicham aleinu sabeir. Good. Now, so that's Ikar Avodah Hashanah is to be mamshich elikuz on the shlavish vern and vern amelech. The Eibusha said that's me. It's mufshit from Melucha, and to be mamshich elikuz in the tzir of Malchus and to build tfilas of Malchus different pratim and Kabbalah. That's the main Avodah Rosh Hashanah. That's the main akud of Shefer. Shefer is the main Avodah because Shefer through Shefer is tamlichuni aleich. Why this date? Why Rosh Hashanah is Beit Mitzvahs of Malchus? The sin is negate. The Rebbe is not saying the Chag of a kitzur of the beer and chassidus of what the Kovetz Rosh Hashanah is, but it's going to be negate to the Hemshech Maamar too. This in but Shaykh Rosh Hashanah been in a Malchus by Pashtus, who was a Shaykh to this day. Rosh Hashanah Chiddush Ma'aseh Bereishis. Yeah, there's a machlekes when the world is created, but the la'alocha legabe Rosh Hashanah, and it's still also how we pass. But the gabe Rosh Hashanah, we say Zeh Hayim Tchilas Ma'asecha, because why Zeh Hayim Tchilas Ma'asecha? Because Chafei Ela Nivra Elam, but the person which is the main nivra of the world is created on Rosh Hashanah. So every year is Mischadesh Brias Elam is Michadesh. זה היום תחילת מעשיך, שבחודש השנה מסהבים כל האלו מסמיכודש כמו שהיו בפעם הראשונה. What's the pshat? It's the Bashavan developed. What's up? Every year we have to. זה היום is nachamal hebt sich an mishaben kol el mismichodesh. What does that mean? Sheva touches. We need it. There says the kids of the beer besteht noch sidus. Es havas kol el mismichodesh machusis barich. Beim shoras amaris b'chodesh shana hirak al shana achas. I mean, this is the Nekudas Abir is you say that just to use a pashta mashal. You'll say that you're offering someone to do a certain asik or a certain thing which is below his target. It's not the fi'erich his keiches. If you're asking someone to do something that's behessim with his keiches, with the seichel, with his midas, and by doing this thing he could be in his gadol, he could grow dirt, and so then he'll be makdish his life for it. But you ask someone to do something that's below his target, below his covet. And ashpa, something which he has to be mashpal himself. Someone's going to say, I'm not ready to invest my whole life in this thing which is ashpala. Temporarily, I'm ready to do it. Temporarily, a person is ready to lower himself down and do something, even though it's not something that's behessim to geidel in yoni. Means so al deras elamaili say the whole in of bria sa'elim is which is neveh because a melech b'layam. The whole in of malchus is zayirida v'ashpala. The melech mitzad atzma is mereim munusa from the whole in of Avram. You speak like in the lukus. The Yivchar mitzad atzma is higher than the whole concept of elim is that the nevraim should appreciate him and should serve him and should be mekabel on himself as malchus. That's hashpala the guy with the Yivchar to lower himself down in a form to run the world, and that he should be our king and he should direct us and lead us. That's hashpala for him. So when he was mashpal himself to create the world, but it was only temporarily. Mitzad atzma is a hechad of him. And the hashpa and the fact that he's mashmas and Sfiras HaMalchus to begin with was never that now Lakus is in a tzir of being a melech and he, so to speak, detached himself from his atzmis. So Alam ol Negesh, the Be'etzem, he's beyond it. Temporarily, he's being mashpal himself to Mahavas and Develt. I was saying, Pashat, the beard in Kabbalah. What's the beard mitzad Seder Shtashlo that every year, Shoshana, the world has to be recreated Mechodesh. The Yivchar loses his geschmack in creation. And we have to be Meir again. He should be interested in lowering himself down to create the world. So that's the Rebbe gives the beer of Yivchar. The Maamar is going to explain a premise in the Indian, but the Seder Shashas is the Rebbe is saying the beer the way it is inside Seder Shashas, so to speak. Why is it that the world has to be nischadish every single year mechodesh? Because the Savas is Shamidas Malchusah. Means the whole Indian of the Savas is a melech b'layam. That the Eibishter, that there should be an am which is zarnev and efradim, which they should also be makir his gedula and they should be kabel malchusah. Only mitzad that there's in of his havas elamis, and that whole in is ashpala. I mean, the melech doesn't gain anything from the fact that this nation accepted him and accepted him as a king, and the fact that he's running this in the matters of this medina is ashpala for him. So the Eibush is only ready to be mashpal himself temporarily.
Even once he has a tainugidness, even if he's being this
You're saying mitzad the deer. Steht doch in Chassidus that the reason why there was a Savas is because nisaved the etzem wants a belt. Here he's saying that the mitzias elam is maybe the malchusah, and then it's ashpala. But it says that the emos was nisaved mitzad atzmas. You're asking. The Rebbe is saying the beer api pashtus advar. Before we get to it, there's going to be a beer primi that even mitzad the kavanas atzmos, not even. The reason why the hishtashus is built in a way that every year has to be nischadish. The pnimis has to do with kavana, the kavana satzmos. But the Rebbe is saying the beer, so mitzad seder shtashlos. The world, the way it is mitzad seder shtashlos. Where did the world stem from? Mitzad sfiras hamal, mitzad eibush has a chacham. The same way the Chassidus brings the mashal. Is chayr rachamecha v'chazir say in the Barutzayim. Kime'elam hema. That is mitzad meichin. There's no sabbath. Mitzad meichin is dafne shaman avelt. The same way a person mitzad meichin is moved from his zulas. And the whole nekuda of being mashpul himself, and he matters how the zulas behaves, and to care about being manig with the zulas, is in Sasfiras HaMalchus. We're saying the simple beer. But then you're going to something else. The pnimius of the whole thing about that they're saying the shash is because it's kavana sa'etz. That's the pnimius of the whole thing. But we're saying now mitzad his havas the way it is api pashtus advar.
Are you saying that the pnimius hamalchus, the tainugid malchus, is nisave of atzmos?
No, we're going to see in the Hemshech HaMaimer why the whole system of every year there should be silika malchus is negate to the kavanah. But what I'm saying is the Rebbe is explaining here why is it that every year the silika malchus is understanding the Indian Abriya the way it is according to Seder Shashlos. Without going into kavanas atzmos, mitzad the etzem that doesn't say so about.
Even on Pashas, you can't have 2 years though. Like being good at
A year is a full session. What do you mean?
No,
That's where the concept of a year comes from. The concept of a year comes from that the Hamshacha Tevel, a year means a certain full cycle. Why is it a full cycle? That's the cycle. There's you say, I'm ready to be mashal myself, not that this is where I'm going to be for eternity. I'm ready to be here temporarily. It means I'm ready to do one full session with you. For a new session, we'll have to do Mechadash. And that's where it came from, that there's Takashana B'Shana every year is a session for itself. Stammte von dem.